gratitude to all four of you who could take out your time. It's a busy schedule. For me, it's quite an honor to host this panel because on the first day, those of you who were out there yesterday as well. So I also had the opportunity to interacting with the senior officials from RVNL, BHEL, those who are engaged in Vande Bharat train operations or manufacturing it. And the point being that in the whole Indian railway sector, those are the really high profile projects, right? Those are right there in front of everyone. News, you have daily news updates as to the contracts, Vande Bharat. They're like the most high profile kids probably, out there in the sports arena or in the school. And today we are joined by the stakeholders, the officials, the executives, the players who are behind the scenes. Now, they are the kinds of work they do is what makes possible everything go around, the systems, the subsystems, and everything. And without them, the system, the entire system literally would come to an halt. So we'll begin this panel discussion. My first question would be to Mr. Narula. Chris have really been the backbone, literally, the spine of literally of that system, especially the ticketing system, that we have for the Indian railway system. It has obviously evolved over the period. Now we have gone completely digital. If you could walk us through the journey for Chris has been, now we are obviously in the digital format and obviously what are the next steps? Now we get our tickets done through, our tickets get confirmed on the mobile. Earlier it wasn't used to be the so. We used to have that hard copies, which the ticketing person used to come and check. And if you did not have them on your trains, you were in trouble. So today we have the digital mode. Where Chris is going forward, and what are the steps on those fronts?
Chris started with the motto of giving the, long back, giving the online reservation and facilitating the reservation for the passengers. If we recall our childhood stage, then there used to be long queues for getting the reservation done. In fact, we used to waste almost a day for getting a reservation, and we used to go to some window, and then one person used to keep one ledger, and he used to blackmail, seat is not available on this date, on this date, on this date. And now the seat was available. Sometime we realized later on. So that journey started with the small facility of reservation, but the demand kept going up, and there was a huge rush for the reservation centers. And when the reservation centers could not take up that load, there was a thought of giving the facility online. And now you are easily doing the reservation online. And you are also getting some forecast also. What is the chances of your confirmation? Maybe 86%, 70%. It is AI which is working behind that. Because we take the data of the past, and then we run the algorithm, and then we forecast how much chances are there for the reservation. This is the now past, and everybody is easily able to do the reservation with a click of buttons. If you have saved your profile, you can very quickly do the reservations. And if you have saved your routes also, you can also quickly do that work. And you can do it on the mobile also. But in the parallel, we wanted to show the status of the train, running status. We wanted to give the facility of the booking of a retiring room or some rest houses for the passengers. All these facilities are available separately on different apps. Similarly, for the freight also, we have a freight booking facility on the separate app. So there are multiple apps. Say more than 10 apps are there for the passenger or the other industry holder for doing the business with the railways. Maybe it's a journey, maybe it's a booking of the freight, maybe it's a booking of the parcel, maybe it's an unreserved ticket, and maybe seeing the status of the train. So if anybody is keeping all these apps, so there are multiple apps, it's taking up the one full page of your screen with these apps. So we thought, why don't you make a super app and merge all these apps into the super app. And we are working on the super app, and it's in the phase 1 and phase 2 part. In the phase 1, we are planning to club reservation, train status, and then unreserved ticketing also, and then tour packages, e-catering, and retiring room, executive lounge. Uh, and one more additional feature which we are going to give is, as you are seeing when you book your journey in the aircraft flight, so you can select the seat of your choice. But normally the seat of choice comes few days before the start of the journey. They open that option, and then you can select the seat of your choice if it is available. And sometimes they sell that seat in the premium also. And the important seats and the premium seats are sold at some higher price. Uh, what we are going to take the data of all the coaches, say around 80,000, 1 lakh coaches with us, and we are going to map the seat locations for all the coaches. It is almost 50% done already, and we'll show you on the basis of train number selected, we'll show you the seats available in the coach, and we'll show you the exact location in the 3D view. And on the click of button, you can select that location seat, and that seat will be, if it is vacant, then it will be booked in your favor. Now, being a heavy rush, you have to do it quickly, otherwise you may again come into the waiting list or something like that, because there are many takers for the reservation also. But that facility is already under testing, and in this super app, it's going to be released shortly. And in phase 2, what we are going to club in the super app is the freight business also, the freight booking. You can do the freight booking, you can check the rates available for each freight type, and then you can also do the parcel booking from the super app. So this is going to be a good application, and it's going to be sort of a game changer for the Indian Railways. It's going to attract many customers, and it's going to ease the work for them. And obviously, it's going to facilitate our passengers also, because our old citizen passengers, or senior citizen passengers, are sometimes finding difficulty in getting the seats as per their choice. And maybe in the time to come, we can fix few of the seats for our senior citizen passengers, and it's available for their on the basis of age also. That's one thing which we are doing. There are many other things which we are doing, which we are further doing, but we can discuss it subsequently in the discussion.
So, sir, you said it will come out soon. The journalist in me wants to know when exactly.
Sir, in that we have already done a lot of work, and many applications have been merged and they are under testing. And we want to make it foolproof, so that we are giving some time for the testing. And for developing in the backend, a lot of work was required to be done, lot of algorithm was required to be made, lot of integrations with the different applications were required to be done. So we are almost on that part. We have done the speed work, and we are reached to the level of testing.
One point that really, on a personal level, I would like to point out. You talked about the long queues, earlier. Now, obviously, things have evolved. But when those queues were there and technology had not evolved, getting your ticket confirmed is one of the small achievements of life. In a week, if you got that ticket done, I mean, the family, all the members are happy and they are relieved. So those were small nostalgic moments we used to have. But obviously, things have to improve, efficiencies has to come, and but those were always nostalgic memories. I'll come to Dr. Tripathi. Now, you and Chris are actually collaborating on the IT front, on the development and the digitalization. If you could elaborate how the partnership is working out and the projects and the way forward on this front.
To the honorable delegates, first of all, I must mention to you, and I take pleasure telling you that RIDES has completed 50 years this year. And it has grown. It has been a growing company, and being a public sector in a public sector space and consistently growing for last 50 years. So it has its own strength and resilience. And I should also mention to you that RITES this year has also been given the Navratna status. So it is now in the elite group of 29, the largest public sector company in the country. Especially being in the consultancy business, started in 1974. Even before I think Chris was conceived, RITES was the company which was doing IT projects for Indian Railways. So uh, there were a lot of projects done those times. Uh, uh, ERP had not come those days, but then we have a lot of modules built for railways, like the rolling stock program module, the workshop module, the machine and plant modules. Some modules we did for some of the production units like BLW. Later, when Chris came, so all these works, IT-related projects were handed over to Chris, and Chris is doing a tremendous job, wonderful jobs. We all know about it. We have a relationship with Chris where Wright's role now has gone ahead because Chris is now working in the country. So we have been given the mandate by the Ministry of Railways, and we have a tie with Chris where we take up all these initiatives which have been taken by Chris to the other countries, mostly under G2G model or otherwise also. So I must tell you that in Bangladesh, under line of credit, we have a big project lined up, and where all these initiatives which have been taken, like ticketing system, like passenger operation system, freight operation systems, all these things will now go to Bangladesh. Recently, we have also visited Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka also wants similar system. We had also looking for such opportunities in other countries, especially the African continent. So we have a great relationship with Chris. Uh, Apart from this, to tell you that RITES has its own initiatives now, because RITES is now has become a multi-sectoral company where the railway is one of the sector, but then we have around 7 8 sectors in the transport and infrastructure. So we have multiple clients, and we have our own initiative. We have recently started, although a lot of IT and technology related initiative were being taken in RITES, but then we had seriously now engaged with the IT and AI projects. So under RITES Digital, we started a serious working seriously towards this initiative. So we have two fronts. One is the upgrading our IT capabilities, and also the on the we are also working AI fronts. On AI side, I must tell you that we have been doing some projects which are client based, especially for railways, like the rail inspection. We are doing on project along with IIT Roorkee, which is now being done in Sale Bhilai. So we hope that if projects become successful, can be then scaled up to other sectors and other such similar industries. We have also taken up some projects, AI related projects in house for internal process improvements, like billing process, HR process, other things. So a lot of initiative we are taking, and we hope that once these things become practicable and they have their implementability in the industry, so we'll take up these projects through Indian Railways also. And the other things, RITES has been doing other works also, like the game changer smart yard project. So RITES is the entire study for that, which is going to change the shape of the Indian Railways operation and maintenance of rolling stock trains and all. So there are several such projects, and on the back end, we always look forward to Chris also in a case of any such support is required. Chris is always there with us, and not only Chris. Now we have our own internal team, and then we also have institutional support, like I mentioned to you, IIT Roorkee. But having said that, as we need to fast track our initiatives, we need to scale up our initiatives. We also look forward to the industry and experts to join us in our endeavor, and we can, so that we can have a win-win situation where we can collaborate and take up such projects on a larger scale. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really nice to know about the collaboration between Chris and your entity, because I think that is the whole idea of bringing synergies together If you work together, you bring the best of talent, you work together, you come from different domains, and yet you work for the common cause. And I think it's a fine example, not just, let's say, for the public sector, but hopefully even in the private sector it happens to JVs. And for a network like ours, which is probably the biggest out there in the world, this sort of synergies is actually going to make it go ahead. So thank you very much for you know, outlining all those developments. I will come to Mr. Venkata. Now, I would really have to say about Mr. Venkata is like, I mean, those of you who really want to keen on interacting with him can meet him on the sidelines. But he comes from a legacy, a family legacy of railwaymen. His grandfather was in the railways, his father in the railways, and his passion now has moved on. Obviously, now he's in the private sector. So I will go ahead. So it's very, you know, legacy of a story. Those who want to know, you can really meet him on the sidelines, and we'll share the stories and the nostalgic moments he had growing up. On Arcadis, you know, if you could outline, you are into intelligent rail systems, you are into asset management. The private technology being developed in the private sector and now slowly coming in, let's say even 2 decades, you know, before us, that was not the case. Slowly and slowly, it's sort of at an inflection point, and it will rise up. Something like, you know, intelligent rail and transit system. How does you get incorporate into the existing system of railways that we have as we move on from legacy systems? And in terms of the cost, are we able to preserve them? All the capex that is required, if you could outline all those things.
Thank you. So, coming to the point of this intelligent system, so basically I would like to start with what is intelligence. So, I think we all know, but primarily what makes someone intelligent is where you are actually able to enhance your decision making power, right? So, any system which is actually enhancing your decision making abilities is actually going to be an intelligent system. So, if you look at the railway as an ecosystem, to actually make it, I would categorize them into 3C segment. Like one is your commercials, where cost and revenues and other things are actually going to be looked at. Second is primarily the compliance side of the story, and third is actually about the commuter side of the story. So your IT systems will actually address these 3C framework of all your things. Now, coming to the question of how do we sustain, how do we make sure that the returns are actually there on these things, there are again few fundamental things that we need to actually take into account so that we don't repeat or bring in inefficiencies because of the IT systems. One is, I think as long as we are actually focused on making sure that these are open source and open network based kind of platforms rather than being into proprietary systems, sustaining them will be long term will be very difficult, because we always have actually been working on various systems. I've seen the technology transformation in highways. We have been involved with that part. Now we are seeing with railways also coming in, airports or various other things. What has actually evolved and has picked up momentum is only when you actually bring it in open network based and away from a proprietary systems. And the projects which have actually taken up towards a proprietary have always led to failure. So that was one fundamental and most important thing for us to sustain. The second important thing that what is important is that always the outcome is actually very important, rather than focusing on what technology I'm implementing, whether it is AI ML or whether it is robotics or whatever blockchain that I'm actually talking about. I think technology is not permanent. What is important is an outcome. So always we need to make sure that we are using technology as a means and not an end. So I think that focus, as long as it is there, I think I'm sure that it would drive the success and sustainability of the entire thing. The third important thing is we can't forget the stakeholder in the whole framework, and the security and safety of the whole system should not be let aside in the speed at which you want to actually deploy the technology, because everybody are in a race and everybody wanted it to be done yesterday. So what we realize is that actually everything has a time and its own time. It would take its own time. I think if you rush, then we might end up in losing the main purpose of actually being that part. So we need to give it the time to mature and then we need to make sure that it is actually been taken through. I think these are the few important points that we learned during the course of our discussions with our stakeholders and our experience in implementing systems across.
I would now come to Mr. Santosh. But correct me if I'm wrong, but you're responsible for the sales for Belden in the SAARC and Indonesia region. Now, I have to tell you, in any organization, there are people who are contributing to the software, technology, product development. The person who is responsible for the sales, he is the one carrying most of the pressure, because if he cannot get done that stuff, if he cannot sell it, all the technology development and all that really doesn't work out. I have my sales colleagues, so I know the pressure they get to handle, and I can understand your pressure as well. Your company, Belden, one of the philosophy of your company is that you make systems talk to each other. I think that one of our core philosophies. Now, obviously, you have been in India for some time now. The Indian railway network systems, and obviously if you're on the metro side and the other systems that are coming up, this whole philosophy of yours, where you're making systems talk to each other, if you could outline, Indian context, how it is that process going on? Because I understand in the developed nations, systems are very mature, right? You may just need some tweaking. Out here, you're dealing with legacy systems, probably taking them up, setting in new. How that process goes in for a Belden?
Yeah. So first of all, what I want to start is, you started off the note saying, we are the people working behind the scenes, right? So yes, we are the people working behind the scenes. Actually, if you see a lot of metros that are deployed in the country today, right? So all the backbone communication, the train to ground, the driver, trains that are controlled without drivers, right? So grade of automation 3. Now people are talking of grade of automation 4, which is driverless trains. So we are building the backbone, actually. We are building the network for these trains, all the way from train to ground and, trackside and station, OCC, BOCC, right? So that's exactly what we do. And yes, as Mr. Venkat also mentioned, right, interoperability is very, very important. And for the last 2 days, everyone has spoken about data, So someone said data is the new oil. Someone spoke about digital twins, right? So now every system is generating huge amount of data, right? So it's in terabytes. Now you have to really, if you really want to harness the potential of this data, you have to actually contextualize this data, harmonize the data. Basically, the data orchestration or data management becomes really, really important. And if you have to create a virtual system, a virtual train, right, and compare it with the actual train, what's actually happening, right? And security becomes really important. Like you want to really see what is the you want to detect, say anomaly detection becomes important, or someone spoke about predictive maintenance. So these parameters, or say for example, passenger safety, right, on the train, any incidents happen. So how do you capture this data, right? So this is where we are trying to bring in legacy systems also. There are systems, systems don't talk to each other, right? Because everybody has their own system. There are protocol which are running on their own system, right? So to convert all this data, right, and bring it to an edge, okay, to a platform where you can actually do this part of data orchestration and then data visualization becomes very, very important. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And these technologies, what we speak of, artificial intelligence or, machine learning, this is really important because if you don't have these technologies, you can actually not see what's happening with the, data, with the data, actually, whatever you have, with these technologies, you can actually really see what's happening, right? And also, we are working with many customers in India and directly, indirectly, right? So because we go through the system vendors also. Now, people have come to us asking for some co-creation of new applications. People have come to us asking. Yesterday, someone spoke about track. There are incidents because animals pass through the track or something happens, right? So someone came with some very interesting application of asking us, can we track this? Can we monitor such things? Or someone spoke about image processing, right? Image sensing. So that's where we try to help customers bring the data from sensor and all the way to the cloud or to the edge. So technologies are important, and integrating the systems, or making it interoperable, is somewhere we play a vital role. Yeah.
And also, sir, if I say, looking from the outside, one feels that the advent of AI is what actually is going to be the inflection point where different subsystems and systems now actually talk to each other instead of the manual, whether it's a software update or any sort of infra update,
Yeah.
that the AI is the one now the doing would be most of the work. Coming back to Narula, sir, uh, you touched upon the freight aspect of Chris. I wanted to know because railways also wanted to has its targets of increasing the modal share of freight to 45%. Are you only engaged in the railways freight aspect, or are you also involved the other areas of freight, enabling the freight movement, be it to the roads? Are you going to go to subsectors and other sectors as well, and not just be in the railways part?
For the freight movement, as I mentioned in the super app, we are going to increase our scope. If you see the percentage wise of commodity, each commodity, so we have some possibility of increasing our percentage in some more commodities. By this super app, that commodity is not coming maybe because we are not. The customer want more facilities, more accessibility to book his products. So this super app will definitely give us an edge to give him more accessibility to capture more product. The second thing what we are trying to do is we have depending upon the requirement of freight and movement of trains and movement of passengers, our limitation is the infrastructure. Considering the population of the country, we need to, if you want to be at par with other developed countries, maybe European countries, maybe the other countries, where there are always seats are always available, the berthing capacity is always available. But in our country, that there is always a shortage. If we open up the ticket booking, it exhausts in the first or second day of the opening. Most of the important trains, they get exhausted because there is a lot of demand. And the demand can be met by the one way is to create the infrastructure, create the more rolling stock. Second way is to optimize the use of these existing infrastructure. Whatever the human being could put his brain, he has already optimized that level. Now we want to use AI, that is a digital twin. We are trying to, we are working on a prototype model on one area where we are making a digital twin in which we'll be capturing the data of movement of the trains, movement of goods in that congested area. There is and we'll identify the bottlenecks areas from the track point of view, from the cross section point of view, from the rolling stock point of view, and from the yard point of view, and from the port point of view. And in this digital twin, we'll integrate all the areas, and we are creating a model depending upon the past history, past data, and on the basis of past data. And in parallel, we'll be capturing the current movement of each train. On the basis of that, we'll run the algorithms using the AI, using the ML, and with that algorithm, we'll optimize, we'll find out at what speed in a particular section we have to run this train, and so that we can increase the throughput of our trains. Plus, we'll be able to identify the time for our rolling stocks for maintenance purpose. How much time we can allocate to this particular rake for maintenance purpose, so that there is no idling of any rake, and how much time we can allocate to the customer for loading that particular rake. I mean, when we are berthing on some dock or somewhere for loading the rake, so we'll allocate that much time also. Everything will be done through that digital twin, through that machine learning models. So this we are already working with some IIT, and team is also working on it, and we hope some good results will be coming to optimize these utilizations.
So also this observation, sir, that you are actually on the back end, but what you do also will influence the targets that the national logistics policy has aimed. Bringing down it from 13 to 14% to single digits. Because until and unless your softwares and your applications are best level, then it from back end, from behind the scene, contributes to the national logistics policy target.
Sir, we are already improving our infrastructure to make it the best. We are already working to host our most of the application on our cloud. The main game in the digitization is the data processing. You should have a ample capacity to store your data. You should have and ample algorithms, good logics to run this, to analyze their data and come out with the best solutions, and that with the minimum latency. That is the requirement in the IT sector. Saying is very simple, but it incurs the cost, it incurs the infrastructure. That is what we are working. In fact, even in the Europe also, whatever they are doing in the small level. They are not doing in the huge level. They are not catering to 120 crore populations. They are not catering to such big traffic. And their data storage requirement is very less. If I say, if we want to monitor the maintenance of, performance of any train or any asset through IoT basis, and we want to capture the data, so data comes in terabytes. We have to keep the data somewhere, and then we have to retrieve the data to do the analysis and the algorithms. That challenge is there with our country, and of course we are going to incur the cost in that. But we are working on it, and definitely we have already taken steps in that direction to optimize the requirement and to find the best solutions depending upon our requirement.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Tripathi, coming to you. Earlier, you talked about the IT modernizations and all the aspects that you're looking upon. One of the very important aspects is also the security of the IT systems. As we evolve, as our systems become more digitized, driven by software and other elements of technology, securing them would be of a prime concern. Both between you and Chris, where are we in terms of securing that network, securing that IT systems? Because it would be a fact that going forward we'll be vulnerable to that.
So per se, we RITES does not have its own expertise in this area. So we have been taking assistance from the industry. So for our own IT system, so Chris is one of the agency we look forward to. NIC is there. There are many agencies, private agencies. So we are working on that, but it is purely based on external support.
Right.
Yeah.
But just to have your take, as a person who is in the industry as an important stakeholder, our systems, the way we are modernizing, if you could outline, China is far away ahead of us. Europe, there's no question asked, because yesterday in one of the discussions there was this debate whether we go for the ETCS system, which comes from the Europe, or our own covered system. In terms of the domestic technologies that we are developing, domestic software systems, and that you are developing along with Chris and other entities, where we are, can we compare ourselves? Is there a comparison, let's say, with China or Europe even valid?
Ultimately, as one of our colleague has just mentioned to you, any technology is not the end of it. Actually, technology is an enabler. And ultimately, what matters is the value you create for your clients, whether it is railway system or any other industry. What does your customer wants? What type of value you want to create to it? What type of system you want to build for them? My understanding of whatever I've seen outside this country, whether it is China or Japan or Europe or US, Middle East also. So there are It's a very complicated issue as such. We are bringing bullet train here, but then there are divert views on that, whether bullet train should be in India, should not be there, whether should we be upgrading our own system or we should go for such high speed trains. Today, while I'm sitting here, my daughter is traveling in Shinkansen from Tokyo to Osaka. But we also hope to see that bullet train will come here. But ultimately, see, when we talk all about it, if you see across the world also, even suppose we talk of China, you see China has maglev. Maglev 420 is the highest, the maximum speed train in the world, 450 kilometer per hour. They have bullet trains running around the country. But that is not the end of China. China has a lot of the deep rooted in their China, deep rooted the interiors and the you can find the systems are even not at par with Indian railway system. So while why we when we talk of that whether we have matured or whether we compare ourselves to them, we say that whatever whatever market we are working in, I think we are doing very good. If we talk of metro sector, I don't know metro sector is anywhere inferior to any metro system in the world. If we talk of our passenger segment also in terms of the rolling stock, when we talk of say railway system, it comprises of the rolling stock, the fixed infrastructure, the operations, and the passenger interface. These are the four things. Passenger, I mean to say, either it's a client interface, whether it is for freight, it's a freight customers, for passengers, the passenger customers. Just my just from Chris, you just had just seen the what all is being done for the operations. Rolling stock per se, when you talk of rolling stock, we have Vande Bharat today. We have Vande Metro also is coming up. This can match any standard of the world, and we also try to RITES is trying to promote it to the international world also, and we are hopeful that shortly some metro Vande Bharat or Vande Metro will go out of country also, exported to some countries. So we have that. We have metros, one of the most advanced. We are talking of great great of automation, 4 level driverless metro. BML has developed such metro systems. Our smart coaches, like what we have LHB now, we call it smart coaches. They have all the feature any coach can we can think of in a passenger coach. We have smart wagon, like Christian has only done one project where we are doing this RFID tagging and the tracking of all wagons. So a lot of things are happening here, but ultimately it all depends on our requirement, the client's requirement, and then of course there is a scope for improvement. But then things are happening. I think things are happening at a pretty good pace now. So it actually we cannot compare is one to one. So we have different countries, different type of systems. On the one say, I say we have in Middle East, you say they have the most advanced system, but do they really need it? You go to Saudi, they have they run 3 to 4 trains a day, and they have CTBC level 3 and 4. I just wonder whether this is required. See, this is when we say about technology. It's a matter of question whether they need it, whether they need those type of trains when the distance itself is 300 to 400 kilometers. So it's all about that. But I think wherever we are playing, whether it is with related to the rolling stock design, whether it is rolling stock manufacturing, whether it is operation and maintenance, the smart yards, the smart workshops, whether it is passenger interface like what Chris is doing, what IRCTC is doing, whether it is operations, again Chris has done a lot of work in this. I think we are progressing. Things are at a good pace. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Venkata, will come back to you now. Your company is also engaged in asset management. Now, we are at the economic times. When you use the word asset management, we mostly sort of associated with, let's say, a mutual fund portfolio, asset management, mostly the finance stuff, your stock portfolio, asset management, all that stuff. But asset management of an infrastructure, and such as a railway infrastructure, in a diverse country like ours, because our railways network spread over, whether it's the Himalayan regions, down in the coastal road, the Konkan Railway, it was a historic in terms of its construction and all that stuff. Asset management in a diverse country like India, how does one go about it?
Uh, I think you have rightly put forward. I think the problem in front of us is like with Indian Railways, it's like the scope is huge, the variety is actually is huge, and it's spread across the geography. It's like anywhere and everywhere that is actually spread. But fundamentally, the best part about IT systems, I think I'm sure my other panelists also would agree, is that it's actually a systems approach. Is what if you take the right systems approach, I think things will get simplified. It only from outside it seems complex, but the moment you start breaking it down into bits and then start joining the dots together and go through a systems approach, I think it actually helps. I just want to give you a quick example about what we have done in the past with some of our clients. Bangalore congestion problem, again, I'll come back because that's the latest that's running on my mind. Uh, Everybody ran away from the problem. There was no one who is coming forward to give a solution there. So for everyone, it was like a white elephant. So what we went forward and then what we did was we set a simple framework. We said like, what are the simple things that need to be done? Let's not talk about complex things. So we actually tried to put forward a platform called Astram. It was basically a strategic tool. When we did the brainstorming, this is what it actually evolved. It's a strategic tool. We don't put hardware into place. We are actually trying to use what is available in the system today, and we make sure that we are actually working collaboratively with everyone in the system, because you can't work in isolation. So it's actually called actionable intelligence for sustainable traffic management or sustainable transformation management. So we set up a big data platform, and even I think it's applicable for any system that I actually see. And it's a simple framework where you have the data coming in from multiple sources, different variety, different data is coming. So it's like a data loader that we have, like yesterday also was actually telling. So it's simple data loader. It can be any format, structured, unstructured. Let's be prepared to take any kind of data. Second is there are some legacy systems that are actually available. So there is a API framework that is actually there. So once you actually build the data coming in, then what you need to do is you have to build the entire system for tomorrow. So like what sir was also saying, right? Like there is a huge amount of data, there petabytes of data that is actually coming in. How do you take care of that part? So you keep, when cloud is actually been embraced, so for you data size doesn't matter. You keep growing as you keep moving. So if you build a data lake and then put a system in place, design the rules, make sure that a standard database structure is actually defined. You have a cataloging done. Make sure that then you structure the data. You need somebody right intellect to come in to design the entire thing, and then you actually keep all these different technical modules, like we generally call it as a data cubes in a big data framework. It can be today you want an optimization tool, you build it and then it gets integrated. Tomorrow you wanted a scheduling tool, it's actually built into it. Tomorrow you are bringing an AI module for cost optimization, or do you want to build something for energy management? So it can be any kind of a tool. We are not going into specificities, but what is important is you have set up a framework which actually takes care of the security and standardization side of the story is taken care. You can actually build in and plug into this framework any time, right? So once you have that, you actually are done. Then the third comes is your the stakeholder facing side. It can be your dashboards, it can be your reports, it can be your data sharing with third party stakeholders, outside stakeholders. It can be social media, it can be anything. Like it's like facing towards the end user side of the story. So you can design any, as and when the users get added up, you can design so many things, and you can use the power of the data management to actually get that part. So simply put forward, you need to put for a good standard framework which can actually take care of, and it grows, it agile, it grows as you grow, it adds up as you want, and the size that you want to grow, it can actually grow. But make sure that you actually framework is actually different. That the fundamental most important thing, what we realized, whether we do an asset management or whether we do any other commercial IT system that we are trying to bring into place. So that's exactly has been our philosophy, has always been, and then we are able to see that life becomes simple for us. at any point in time. But for especially whether it's Chris or whether it's rides or whether it's any bus transport or whether it's any entity which is managing the IT systems, once you have a right framework, you are actually safe, and you also have a route to, even if you go wrong, things will go wrong. Let's be realistic about it. You end up doing things which might falter in the times to come. But important is you should have a traceability in the system, so that you are able to learn from it, and then you try to correct it. You are able to do a root cause, and you are able to correct that part. So you need to build the traceability, you need to build the agility in the system, you need to build the comprehensiveness in the whole scheme of things. So then I'm sure, I think it would be like a cakewalk. That's what is our experience. I'm trying to super simplify things. I know when you go through things, you know what it takes to build a framework like this. But I think that's been our experience so far.
Yes, and also because when you spoke about this data-driven asset management, I will be digressing a little bit, but that's exactly the kind of system that will make a smart city work. Because where else do you get so much of data other than in a city? I mean, I'm quite sure the amount of labyrinth of data that you can
Yes.
capture from a very hectic city, let's say Bangalore, Delhi.
Right.
The data you have, the more the data you have, the ability to create that smart city network around.
Correct. I think absolutely. I think it's not just only smart cities, even railways. The amount of volume of data that they generate, we can't even imagine. Like every movement of a rail would generate so much of data that is actually generating. So what I personally felt was a big data platform is actually is one of the best things that happened to the IT world, and I see that it takes care of all the variety, veracity, volume, and all those things. It actually is designed to take care of these things, is what I believe in that part. So, and important is, like, we get bogged down by these nitty gritties about this technology or this particular data, this data type or others. But as long as we are actually focused on the outcome, I come back to that point very much, like sir has really brought out very nicely. I think comparing ourselves with China, US, or developed nations, I think it's all, they did what is right for them, and we have to learn to do what is right for us. And if I start chasing them, I think we will be in some other world. We will be missing out the big picture, and what is required for us is what I actually strongly believe. And I think it's been, I echo his sentiment on that part very much.
That's true, because has been debate also, because China now has probably the most extensive bullet train network. Now, there is also debate that do we need to match to that level, given the fact that we can supplement with other systems, because they probably did it at a time for where their liquidity or equity to be the capex was easy for them, for China to take up in a good global environment. Now we are no longer in that environment. Interest rates has gone up. Liquidity is an issue out there globally. So thank you very much, highlighting that. I will come to Mr. Santosh, sir. I know your colleague right now talked about the big data. It's how it helps. Belden offers different solutions and many other aspects of technology development. You earlier also we talked about the AI. I would also like to know about the other aspects of the technologies which are available. Let's say blockchain. We are talking about IoT. Are we to see all this solutions or technological innovations in isolations, or how do we sort of look at them, or how does Belden look at them in terms of incorporating into an infrastructure system?
Yeah, I mean, these technologies are gradually being adopted. I talk of blockchain, right? So it's not that we have completely adopted the technology, but we are trying to adopt those technology, be it ticketing system or smart stations or all these places. So the technology is being adopted, right? And it's very important. As you probably like when you integrate the IT and OT platform, right, then a lot of data is flowing, right? And just now our colleague was also talking about you have to pick the relevant data, right? So there are two hardwares available which can actually read the data, right? So when you're sending in a data, it can actually read the data and tell you this data belongs to a, say for example, a Modbus protocol, or this data belongs to a Profinet protocol, right? and it can tell you that if there is some data, what happens is anyone tries to hack into a system, for example, right? So it can also read and say, while all this data is flowing, it will read the data continuously, and it will memorize, and it will keep monitoring the data. So the tools are there which do all these activities. Now suddenly a new data comes in, then it pops up, it alerts, it says, hey, there is something else flowing in your network, right? So if you have to monitor to that level, right, and then you need these technologies. Without these technologies, it's really difficult to actually build a lot of security in whatever solutions that you're going to probably deploy in a railway network.
I will follow up that with a question also, which I also posed to Tripathi, Dr. Tripathi sir. In terms of the securing the network, Belden, obviously, I'm definitely assuming you're specializing in that as well, the IT security aspect of it. If you give us a sense, you're now in India, you've been for some years right now, how you're going about securing that system that is out there? Because, like I said, as we grow, we will also be very vulnerable.
So there are standards, there are cyber security standards. We are actually manufacturing hardwares, or also we are also developing softwares, right? So hardware needs a security, because on the hardware, for many of us, it's a lot of components you assemble and you make a hardware. But what is more important is the software running on the hardware, right? So the operating system has to have a lot of feature sets, right, and also a lot of security built within the hardware. Now, when these hardwares are all interconnected and it is talking to a different system, right, then you need a different level of security element that you have to think of. So at every stage, so if you talk of OT security and IT security, it's entirely different. In OT, when I say OT, it is basically the operation side of the environment, right? If you talk about typical OT environment, you can easily find 40 to 50 different languages in that environment. IT side, you can find one language, right? But on the OT side, it's really difficult, because, like I said, there are systems working in silos, and every system is talking a different language, right? To build security on that system and bring all the data to a common platform, and if you need to have a single pane of glass, right, to view everything, uh, and then make decisions, right? So security on the OT side, on the IT side, right, to bridge this IT and OT, integrate both these things becomes very important, and that's where we actually play an important role. And yes, I mean, we have the solutions, on the data, on the security, on the network backbone, and we moved away from, we've been doing a lot of selling on products for many years, and we have, like I said, we are engaged in most of the metro projects in India. We are doing the DFCC projects. We're building, backbones on the DFCC, right? We're doing entertainment, passenger Wi-Fi on trains. So everywhere, you need, and today we're talking of LTE and 5G, right? So we do have, train monitoring. For example, someone wants to monitor the train, this thing over LTE, right? So they want to have the DCMS data over LTE, and then analyze to have predictive maintenance, right? So, or taking corrective actions well in advance, right? And have better asset optimization or overall equipment efficiency. So everywhere security is very important, because you're sending the data out, right? And we also try to ensure that when the data is sent out, for example, I am pushing a lot of data, I'm connecting to another system. So if I'm connecting to another system, I also have solution where I can have one-way flow of data, so that I'm sending the data, but that person cannot actually enter my gate, right? So there are solutions like this, and these solutions become very important when you talk of security in any kind of network, or especially these kind of mission critical applications where there's a mass transit, public infrastructure. So it becomes very important.
And truly, it's a difficult task, because, as I said, your philosophy is making system speak to each other, talk to each other, and it's not easy, because there are players, not just players, but the industry itself struggles with legacy systems, new systems, how you incorporate it. So the field that you are in is really fascinating, and I think that is the way how overall the systems will evolve in the country and also elsewhere. So it was a very interesting, panel discussion with you all. I come from a very non-technical background, but I've really try to do my research, and it was really nice because my sort of knowledge base has increased from this really panel discussion itself. I will open up the floor for questions. So any questions that they might come from the audience side?
It's really encouraging to see the use of the word OT security, because maybe an year back, when I was trying to talk about this, it was still, not something which the audience or the panelists were ready to talk about. But my question is, are we going to take, and when are we going to perhaps have a security operations center for the entire railways to cover on it? Because that would be the need of the hour if we really have to have a continuous monitoring, detection, and reporting kind of a mechanism.
I
for
hope
this safety.
you are talking about security operation of our IT systems.
IT plus OT has to go together today.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to
So
have a comprehensive strategy.
Presently, the complete, whether it's a hardware or it's a software, the complete is being handled by the CRIS itself. And we are already in place, the security systems, whatever is required. Whenever we are developing the software or we are installing our hardwares, we are first of all taking precautions for ensuring the security. That is a part of, we are in building the whole thing. See, very simple game. What is the purpose of our hacker? Hacker wants to connect to our database by hook or crook. Though he keeps on writing the logics, he keeps on writing the algorithm, he keeps on writing the software to pierce into our database. So now there are multiple boundaries through which he has to pass and come to our database. This is a basic question. Simple question I'm asking in a simple logic. It's a very complicated thing, but I'm just trying to explain you. So with the need of giving the facility to our customers, our users, we are exposing ourselves. IT system is exposing themselves to the web. So when we are on the web, on the front end, he comes into the front end, then he comes into our network, then he comes into our database. These are the important layers through which he passes and then reaches to our database. Once he establishes a connection to the database in an IT system, then somehow he manages to do some hacking. You might have read in the newspapers, some institutes got this problem into it. But if we keep building our securities in all these layers, and whatever the code is coming from the front end, we keep filtering the whole thing, then it will be very difficult for the hacker to pass through these layers and reach to that level. And the other thing is, if you are keeping multiple database, you try to keep all these databases separately. Don't club all the database. Somehow, if anybody is by 1 million chances, he gets into some database, that database should remain separate. He should not go into other database. These are the different precautions we are taking, and we have to remain ahead of our hackers, because whatever they are doing, we should remain ourselves updated, and we should find the antidote of these activities. And that's what we keep on doing. We have multiple checks in our systems. As you might be now in a banking system, you might be logging, and then once you log in, then they send a OTP to your first they ask you your password, and that password is also very complicated, not a simple password. And then after that, it sends you OTP. And after your OTP, then you can do some transaction, say viewing transaction. But if you want to do some major transaction or some financial transaction, it again asks you one more OTP or one more password or one more security. So normally they are taking 3 level of passwords from you for doing your transactions. Similarly, in CRIS also we are working in the same direction, and for all the important activities we have at least 2 level of security checks where we are getting ourselves exposed. And the poachers are uniform for everybody, every country, every institute. If the poacher is poaching, hackers are poaching some sites, so they are attacking on Chris sites also in parallel. But we have survived for last many years. It's a test of the time that they are not able to reach to our database, because we are keeping ourselves updated, and it's a separate team, a security team, which is working in parallel with all the applications and keeps on doing all sort of audits and keeps on doing all the security measures. And we are alert 24 into 7 for these activities, because whenever somebody tries to invade our system, we come to know immediately, and we take all possible precautions immediately. And then the machinery is working 24 hours. It's not that somebody is sleeping in the night. We are alert for all these things. So, I mean, we have passed through these attacks in the past, survived in these attacks, and then we hope to do better in the future also. So I don't feel, I mean, it's a matter of concern. We have to remain very alert to fight against these bad elements. But, and I mean, be assured, we are working strongly on it.
Thank you very much, sir. So now we will formally close this panel discussion. I really appreciate the audience for tuning in and listening to the expert opinions, and to all the senior officials out here, sir. Really appreciate sharing your knowledge and experience. Thank you, sir.